Welcome to the launch of the second phase of our Cyberjaya project, Myra Cove.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Corporate Health and Youth and Sports Minister, podcaster and presenter.
A great option in terms of that multi-generational living, space, green area, green lungs. You know, it's here.
So when I came here the last visit, the audience sent me, which orientation should I take? I take two lah,
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today, we are honored to welcome our distinguished panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome former Health, Youth and Sports Minister, Mr. Khairy Jamaluddin. Thank you so much for joining. Please join us up on stage for the panelist discussion, all right? You may have a seat there. Thank you so much. And of course, joining us today is Mr. Roy Chin, General Manager of Myra Cove. Let's give a round of applause. You may have a seat here, Mr. Roy. Mr. Roy here. Right next to our logos over here, all right? Next up, we have Malaysia's leading property content creator, none other than Sean Tan. Let's give a round of applause to welcome, also known as I Hung. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, for this panel discussion, we have a talented lady over here. Her name, she goes by Natasha Gideon, also known as Mary Joel Kondo. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to welcome Natasha as she'll be moderating this panel discussion. All right, Natasha, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Assalamualaikum and good morning to everyone. It's such a nice and rainy day to be cuddling in your bed today, but I promise you today will be as exciting, as mentally stimulating, and as you've seen, I think the comfort encapsulates what Myra Cove aims to achieve. All right, so my name is Natasha Gideon, also known as Mary Joel Kondo. I have been in the real estate industry for about close to a decade. I also do property content aiming towards millennials, and I think this is the same target market as Myra Cove as well. And I will be your moderator for today. So with me, we have an esteemed panel. First off, we have Khairy Jamaluddin, former Health and Youth and Sports Minister, podcaster and presenter. Round of applause, everybody. I'm going to pretend like I am his guest on his podcast today. Let me live my dreams. And then we also have, next to KJ, we have Roy Chin, General Manager of Myra Cove. Round of applause. And of course, the person that everyone will be flocking to, Sean Tan, the Malaysia's #1 property YouTuber. Tak apalah, I tambah sendiri. It's okay. All right, so for today's topic, we aim to explore our changed expectations. Post-pandemic, I think a lot of us have been affected, some more than others. And I think the way that we define, the way that we live is ever-changing. And I think that as a developer, Myra Cove is aiming to change the way you live as well. So we will explore Cyberjaya's livability as a first home experience, especially with KL South gaining popularity among recent years, as Akil mentioned in his speech as well earlier. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the first question of the day. During the talk earlier, right, Myra Cove mentioned there are 3 pillars. And for the first question, I would like to talk about the first one, which is limitless bliss. We emphasize limitless bliss for the need of modern homes to support wellness. And macam kita sebut tadi kan, post-COVID, I think mental health is very important, but so is physical health as well. So even many young children are still adjusting post-COVID to social cues due to the lack of community and communal areas within living spaces. So this one goes to KJ. Could you share with me some of the insights of the importance of forming communities and the role of developers and policymakers in meeting today's evolving lifestyle experience?
Yeah, thank you and good morning. Thanks, Natasha, Roy. I'm here because Akhil invited me. I don't normally talk on property, but this is a great question about community and building communities around the properties that we develop, especially in the Klang Valley and in Malaysia in general. I think maybe my experience from being at the Ministry of Health during the pandemic, that affected a lot of people, not just physically, but also mentally as well as, I think, in many ways, and multi-generational. Parents were not able to go to work. Kids were not able to go to school. And I think the psychological scar from our experience in the pandemic will remain for many, many years. So I think people come out of the pandemic reflecting and trying to make better choices about how they live, about how they connect, and how they try to view their living space as well. You know, because we were all locked down. So I think there's a greater appreciation about being in a community, in a living space, and interacting with one another after 2 years of on and off lockdown. So I think it's very important for people, especially younger people, to look for not just a place to stay, a place to live, but a place in which they can thrive. I think a lot of people are looking for that. And if a property developer, Myra Cove, can offer a space in which you are able to thrive and not just to live, not just a roof over your head, but for you to connect with people, for you to be able to have an environment in which your mental health and your physical health can really, really progress. I think that's something very valuable. We often hear about urban areas, especially in the Klang Valley, where I think prioritization has been given to volume, to density, to profits. And I think that's very, very unfortunate. I mean, I've been in government for many, many years before my latest reincarnation. And I felt that that was something that I did not agree to. And I feel that when you have the opportunity for greenfield development, especially in areas like Cyberjaya, you have to get it right this time because you don't want to make the mistakes of creating urban jungles in other places. So I think coming back to your question, and to your question, community is very important and a place where, as I said, you can thrive and feed into the well-being of your physical well-being and also your mental well-being is very, very important.
Thank you so much. Sean, perhaps you can give your opinion or standpoint from a property guru perspective. Wellness in our homes is important, but so are our surroundings, right? Especially for a family with young children. So from your market observations, what trends do you see that help elevate luxury living facilities?
Based on the 400 to 500 properties that I've documented, right? Yeah, I need a life. So by going around, we will notice a similarity in layouts because we are all just oriented to cost efficiency, which one brings the best profit, which one brings the best result, right? Unfortunately, that ends up in all layouts looking almost the same. So what defines the lifestyle then will be the softer things, which is facilities, right? Then in facilities, they are also categorized into different layers. So I categorize them in the location of the facilities. A swimming pool in KLCC and a swimming pool in Cyberjaya is not going to be different. Facility deck, swimming pool and a rooftop and a ground floor is not going to be different. And it's going to be a luxury to have all those different experiences. Because when you look across 400 to 500 projects, right, all almost the same one. Yeah, so that is what I realized when buyers are willing to pay a little bit more, they want things that can help them raise their kids, especially from a father myself. I have a 3-year-old. So open parks. Since when open parks becomes a luxury, right? Then like ground floor swimming pools. Because it's cheaper to build on an elevated car park, Yeah, so I look at those things, and those really defines the lifestyle that you have once you leave the house.
Right. I think what both KJ and Sean mentioned is very important. Communal spaces have now become a luxury because they're so scarce. Having things that are on the ground, and this emergence of people who actually want grounding for physical health, mental health for your children, something that is considered a luxury, which is very sad, but I think it's the reality of today. I'm going to move on to Roy. Roy, Myra Cove has been designed with a wide range of lifestyle needs, right? Could you share more about the idea behind Myra Cove and its move towards modern luxury in today's community-centric environment?
Okay. Our philosophy is live life without compromise. That's what the idea come from, like what KJ says during the pandemic lockdown. There's a lot of people that is looking for space rather than homes. That's why when we come study for the Myra Cove, we have to look into these details when designing all the layouts that can gather the both traditionals and modern livings. On top of this, we also look into the, we are having 4 acres of parks and also a fantastic playgrounds and jogging parks. Together for the young families, also young couples, and can gather of multi-generations of families that they can spend more time together. Is what we are become our experience and catalysts of Myra.
Right. Thank you so much. I think one more point is multi-generational living. A lot of the younger generation now, sometimes we choose to live in a multi-generational community, but sometimes we don't have the choice. And so our living spaces don't cater to that. And I think that's where developers like Myra Cove, or this project comes in. Thank you so much, Roy. And so I think on the point of limitless bliss, on the first pillar, that shows how much Myra focuses onto community, communal spaces, living, people. I think those are the key points that we can take from that. If we're moving on to the second critical factor, I think I would like to talk about Myra Cove's second pillar, which is unrestrained living, where we enjoy the seamless transition from country to city. Cyberjaya, also known as KL South, is now one of the fastest growing cities in Malaysia. And with the rise of hybrid work, we see a demand for a combination of this particular work-life balance, right? So I'm going to ask this question to you, KJ. What are your thoughts on Cyberjaya's policy making and progress?
This is a great question, and I have a lot to say about this, actually. So I'm going to be a bit honest and brutal here. So I used to live, what do you call this place? KL South, is it? It's one of those things, KL South. I used to live in KL South. I used to live in Putrajaya many, many years ago. So Putrajaya has a particular kind of vibe, which isn't a vibe. It's a nice place for government work, but if you like open spaces, it's good. I'm not saying anything poor about Putrajaya, but it doesn't have that vibrancy. It's a bit plain in terms of vibe. So Cyberjaya exists as that sort of counter to Putrajaya's sort of seriousness, as something a bit more vibrant, because you have universities here, you have businesses here, you have young people here. I still come here a lot because I like to run and I like to cycle, and it's nice to do it in Putrajaya and Cyberjaya. And you can immediately see the difference in the vibe. So if you want something a bit more staid, a bit more chilled, it's definitely Putrajaya. If you want something a bit more exciting, it's over here. And I think Cyberjaya has a lot to offer. As I said, demographically it works because it's naturally young. You have universities here, you have a lot of small businesses here. You have people setting up restaurants here. So that vibe is definitely there. You have the open space. You have a natural attraction for people who exercise. They come here anyway, even though they're not part of the community. So I think there's a lot to work with. When I was at the health ministry, I noticed something. There was a hospital here that was built by the government, and it was already ready. It was ready for, I don't know, 2 years or something. So I asked the health ministry, I said, what is that? And they said, it's a hospital. I said, yes, I know. But why is it not being used? And who owns it? They said, we own it. The government owns it. And I said, then why is it not being operated? Because this area of KL South has exploded in terms of population. You're talking about Putrajaya, you're talking about Cyberjaya, you're talking about Dengkil, the greater area environs around KL South. And there simply was not enough support for healthcare. And we talk about multi-generational living. I'll touch on that later. So I said, why is it empty? And they said, well, we built it, but we don't have the resources to run it. That's why there was a decision to privatize it. I said, you mean the government built that hospital and we're going to privatize that hospital? I said, that's not part of the deal for people because the coverage here is Putrajaya Hospital, Serdang Hospital, and it's not enough. So while I was there, the decision was made for us to actually operate it as a public hospital. So it was open while I was still at the Ministry of Health, and it's operating now as a public hospital. And I think that has made a lot of difference for Cyberjaya folks because access to public healthcare is there, and they can start thinking about multi-generational living. And that's the last point that I want to touch on very briefly, Natasha, is that I think when you talk about Asians, especially Malaysians, you cannot run away from multi-generational living. It's just a fact of life. We do not have the heart to be that far apart from our parents. And if they need us, and it's something that we can afford and we are able to do so, we will have them with us. My mother doesn't live with me. I live with her because it's her house until today. So most Malaysians, if they could afford it and if they have the space, they want it. So multi-generational living, I think, is here to stay. If that's something that is front and center of the philosophy that Roy mentioned in Myra, Cove, I think that's really catering towards Malaysians' values.
I agree. Yeah, it is part and parcel of our culture, no matter what race, no matter what religion. Kita mesti sayang mak bapak kita, right? And there will be a guest room that has their name on it. Whether or not they say whether it's long term, short term, but that is...
There's a guest room with my name on it because it's my mother's house.
Balik sikit lah. But I think what is lacking in designs today is the space to cater for, maybe for your guests it's enough, but to cater for your parents, you want to give them the luxury, you want to give them the comfort, right? And I think that that's where mindful designing by developers and also policymakers as well to implement these things are very, very important. So I'm going to ask the big man himself, Roy, what do you think about the Cyberjaya's policy making and the progress that Cyberjaya has made?
Okay, well, the standout point about Cyberjaya is the connectivities. We saw a lot of improvement on infrastructure also in the townships. Back to connectivities, easy access to all the major highways that connect back to the greater KLs and also can connect to a lot of hotspots in Kuala. That's easy for daily commutes, for daily business activities or for work purpose and also for lifestyle purpose. We saw a lot of improvement in Cyberjaya. That's why we are entering to this Cyberjaya to bring our Myra Cove for these projects.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I think that pushes the idea of unrestrained living. The fact that Cyberjaya, I want to go back to the vibes of Cyberjaya. I know it's very like Gen Z slang, but it really is. Like if you go to Putrajaya and you come back to Cyberjaya, right, the vibe is different. And I think a lot of people do buy properties based on vibes. And of course it is simplified, but it is the matter of fact, right? I want to ask Sean. Sean, what do you think on the same matter?
I think from me, a bit nerd, right? I'm a nerd, right? So if you look into Cyberjaya as a master plan, it's one of those very rare typology where you get all infrastructure first before lands are and projects are being developed. Because from a cash flow point of view for any developer, right, they would sell houses first before building roads and sewerage and traffic lights and things like that. Here, you get everything ready, and the idea back then was for this township to be a plug and play. So it's meant to be vibrant instantly. Everybody came in, that pop, 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 then you can straight away just go. That's why also when you look into the township, when you just go around, people always feel here is a bit, why so spacious? Why so many, like the parks, you got more parks than homes. Last time, at one moment of time, right? So then last time, I would just bring my kid here. But that's the thing that suddenly people don't understand when we live in urban cities. When spaces get a bit too constrained, right? Public parks, sooner or later also, don't know still there or not, right? But in Cyberjaya, you see all those kind of things. That's why from me, because I live in around the south area also, is one highway away. So I'm actually trying to convince my wife. But I don't know whether she will. Yeah.
Balik kena beli bouquet satu, a few more, and I think you're on your way. Akil, got one buyer. Thank you so much. So I think moving on to the third pillar that we speak about today, unbounded comfort. It caters to the desire of a higher quality of life, and that's what everyone aims to do. You buy a property, you want a higher quality of life, you want a better quality of life, not for yourself, but for your family, for your parents, for your children. And with the rising trend, especially with the young millennials, right, where they prioritize time spent at home and community life. So my question is, can we discuss how these layouts were conceptualized, Roy, to accommodate for the traditional and modern family structures?
Okay, when it comes to designing the layout, we also think about the young families, young couple, and multi-generations. That's why we come up with multi-layouts from 800 square feet to 1,006 square feet. That will be suit them whether they want to stay together or in the same unit, or they can go for different units in the same buildings. That's why we have to look into these details. There's opportunity for a lot of buyers that want to optional to stay multi-generation layout, or they want to have a more privacies in a small unit, buy another 2 units or 3 units together, have a more time spending together. That's why we are looking for this. It's a catalyst for Myra.
Oh, I see. I think, a lot of people aim to do that, but I think with the design, this would be a better option for those who are looking to cater for their families. Sean, what do you think?
If you go around KL and you see high-rise towers, it's a template. You will have a grand lobby, elevated car park, facility deck, towers. If you got more budget, then rooftop swimming pool, right? But here, when I come in, the first thing when I ask the team is, this one can make money. Because suddenly when you come in, right, it's really that experience in between landed and high-rise. When you come in, you will have 2 blocks. Like, I'm a huge fan of the architect himself, right? So you have 2 blocks like somewhat having organic format. It's not that linear, chop, chop, gautim, right? This one is really in that area, in that shape where it's having a dialogue between each other, and it's going to be a nightmare for sales because nothing is standardized. You will have units where car parks is parked at right in front of your door. Then you can have some where it's next to the 4 acres park. Then you have a ground floor swimming pool. If that's not enough, you will have the, oh, I'm geeking out already. You have all the borderless, then you face the lake. If the park is not big enough, you can go to the lake. All these kind of things, where to get, right, in KL? Very expensive. So that's why when you look into this kind of thing, usually for a project, it takes me like 10 minutes to digest. This one, it took me an hour. I keep asking questions, why this one like that? Why this one like that? And when you look into the target audience and their willingness to work with the architect to express their thoughts, right, they take multi-generational very seriously. It means, for me as a profit-oriented person, just add a room and then call it multi-generational. Right? But if you look into the room layouts around this, it's very thoughtfully done. Again, geeking out. The toilets is meant for more people, more than one person to use at a time. Right? You can have a workspace and your home office at the same time attached to the bedroom. So there's so many possibilities. Again, at the same time, right? You will have the kitchen space nestled out, partitioned out clearly. Because now if you look into the compact units that we have, right? Where's the borderline between the kitchen, living, and dining? And they call it open concept. Right? This one is clearly all partitioned out with the back of house and things like that. So suddenly it felt very refreshing for me. Yeah, so sorry, geeking out. Yeah.
No, I had the same experience when I came and visited the show unit. For context, what Sean was talking about, where the bathrooms or the WC can be used by many people, between the WC and the shower, there is a separation. So if your guests come, but also your children want to take a bath, two people can use the space at the same time. And then when you talk about the layout and the design, later please have a look. Open, right? Today, can go see, right? Upstairs. The living area is actually for living. It is huge. I can imagine having doa selamat, buka puasa on the floor, makan beradab. It's such a huge space that memang is for community, memang for communal living, for entertaining, if you like, as well. Yeah, thanks so much. And KJ, do you have any thoughts on this as well?
Yeah, just to, I think, expand on what Sean said. I'm trying to imagine it because I've not seen it yet. And I think Sean sort of described it very, very well. One of the things that interested me when I was in government was trying to project the next 30 years for Malaysia. And one big thing that we noticed when we did this exercise was, this is future-proofing the country, was the fact that demographics will change. So we are already becoming an aging society. That's when you have more people above the age of 60 than under the age of 15. So when you have an aging society, then the number of people that you have to support who are elderly or older increases. So the pyramid reverses. It's top-heavy. And when that happens, obviously multi-generational is important, but it's also important that you allow people to age in situ. That means that they don't have to go and look for other places to live in because they're familiar with that community. They like that community and they can continue to live there with their families, or they can upgrade, or they can find another property within the community that they are in. So in situ living is very important, and we try to imagine this in the template that Sean mentioned, high-rise in the middle of an urban jungle. Nobody wants to age there. It's not pleasant. So I think by creating something like this, you are in line with a broader shift in demographics in Malaysia.
Agree. Thank you so much. I think when you talk about multi-generational living, you have different levels of generations living within a society. Definitely, the one pillar stands out: unbounded comfort. And comfort doesn't just mean, snuggly weather. It means a lifetime of having a peace of mind in the space that you have and the facilities and the surrounding that you have. We're going to wrap up, and just one final question for everyone. I will start with you first, KJ. Perhaps you can share some more of your thoughts on Myra and what stood out to you. I know you haven't seen the unit yet, but based on maybe what Sean talked about, if you can imagine what it is, what stands out to you?
It's definitely different from the description that I think Sean gave. I mean, if you look at the surrounding area, just coming in, it's pleasant to be here. It's something that you can't get in KL. The only thing is about moving to Cyberjaya, moving to KL South, as you call it. You just have to free your mind and just get out of the fact that you don't have to be in KL. I mean, the transit options that are here now, much better than it was compared to 10 years ago when I was living in Putrajaya. You have MRT, you have multiple bus routes that are operated by Rapid. You're a stone's throw away from the airport and highways. So I think more and more people are getting over that psychological barrier of not having to be in KL and relocating not just their residents here in Cyberjaya, but we now talk about the 10-15-minute city, that you don't have to be away from your house more than 15 minutes. Everything is contained here in your community. And I think if you want to, and you're seriously looking for somewhere that is a great option in terms of that multi-generational living space, green area, green lungs. You know, it's here.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And Sean, do you have anything to add on to that?
Since we spoke about the lockdown, right? I think the lockdown kind of resets the Cyberjaya's design strategy for all developers. If you look into previously, before the pandemic, it was all trying to leverage on university students for investment, right? But after, when that was not part of the plan anymore, what people don't notice is Cyberjaya is a destination for people to call home. Just based on results, right? The landed properties here are like hotcakes, right? Like, I need to call favors in order to buy, right? So it's that insane. So when you have a product like this, which is in between high-rise and landed, so it's in line with that direction. So I think it's only about time when this is picking up. Because like if you look into, again, sales charts, I look into data all the time. Like the larger units are selling very, very well here, which is a phenomenon by itself. Usually people always think like, oh, ROI, ROI, ROI. Here, people don't talk about ROI one. My unit, is it next to the park or next to the lake? They argue about this. So when I came here the last visit, the audience sent me, which orientation should I take? I take two, no. Yeah. So that's my feel about the location right now. And when you look beyond, there's a lot of neighborhood elements. Like when you say there's primary school, secondary school, tertiary education, technically you don't have to move really. Maybe you move, the child can still stay, then pay you rent. Yeah.
I have a small follow-up question. If you said people invest in the bigger sizes, right? So let's say you have a duplex or you have the larger sizes. Why don't they just invest in terrace houses?
Expensive, ma. Right? So, I also want bungalow, but can tak mampu. So I think this is where you kind of get the best of both worlds. So if you buy like individual title houses, you won't get the facilities that they provide, right? But here you kind of have a flat layout of 1,000 over square feet, but then my parents get to bring my kid to the garden while I go out and happy, right? So there are facilities and premise for them to conduct their activities, not like just normal road, which we call park. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then we have a last question for Roy. I'm very excited. Could you share plans for Myra?
Okay, for Myra, we will continue to create luxury living product for our customers. So like for Myra Cove, we have a very good consultant and award-winning architect by HSA to give us a lot of inputs in creating these products. That's why we are keep looking for the advice from the expert in the town to help us to build our brands and to meet the expectation from the customers in order to continue to build our brands in the markets and our products. Because Myra is not only building a house. You try to build a community to the society, to the customer, and based on their needs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I just want to wrap up by saying that the points that were shared today open our eyes and minds to what a simple thing like a pandemic can do to shift the mindset of people, how we live, how we choose to raise our children, how we want to continue living. And I think that all the three pillars that we discussed beautifully explained and defined on by our esteemed panel. Thank you so much. So we won't take any questions, but please do visit the show unit upstairs. I'm sure you will fall in love with it. The design is absolutely amazing. I'm also a big fan of the architect, the landscape architect as well. Everything is seamless, beautiful, because they have put the buyer's perspective in mind. With that, I want to just ask you all for a round of applause for our panelists. Once again, thank you so much, KJ, Roy, and Sean. Thank you for gracing us. And I hope you have a wonderful morning. Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause once again to our amazing panelists. What an insightful session.